Hello, adventurers, and welcome to the Micflayers podcast, coming to you from somewhere in the vast expanse of the multiverse. I'm your host, Conor O'Brien, and joining me as always is my co-host, Mr. Martin O'Dwyer.
Hey,
How are you today, buddy?
I'm good. I'm excited. It's been an exciting week. Lots of fun stuff announced.
Absolutely, yeah. We are on session 39, take 2, because we recorded the session a couple days ago and had audio issues. So we just said,
Goddamn Nothics.
Goddamn
Stealing.
Nothics
It's the
getting
third
getting
episode they've stole from us now.
But it actually kind of worked in our favor because we were talking about a different topic in that episode. Because we didn't just want to literally record ourselves having the same conversation again, because that wouldn't be very fun for us. We said we would talk about Wild Beyond the Witchlight this episode, and we will a little bit, but also because we had to wait a couple extra days to record, thankfully, just last night, a bunch of really, really cool stuff was recorded, or announced, pardon me?
Pardon you?
That's the one.
Pardon me.
If I'm not talking very loud either as well, it's because my throat is absolutely destroyed. For 2 days ago, myself and Martin went out drinking. It was the first time we've been out since New Year's Eve 2019, you accurately pointed out, which I could not believe until I got out of the pub at midnight or whatever and looked around and saw people in the streets going to buy Supermax and all that stuff, and I was like, I haven't seen this in an age.
It's Gandalf in Moria. I have no memory of this place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm like, what is this? It kind of worked in our favor a little bit because we ended up getting all these brand new announcements, which are honestly are incredibly exciting. I am immensely pumped to talk about these. I stayed up a bit later than usual last night just because obviously for us time difference, it was announced at just after midnight. I was there flicking through stuff and trying to find the spot in the 2 to 3 hour YouTube VOD to find where exactly they had said the things I need to know. It was. We'll get into that in a minute. I do want to quickly talk about Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Mostly, I just want to talk about the races in Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Because unless there's anything else D&D related you want to talk about, Martin?
I don't think so. No, I'm down to talk about Witchlight.
Cool. All right. So like I said, I wanted to talk about the races mostly. I think they were one of the main things I was excited about. You know me, I like crunch when it comes to books. I like the adventurers to read through them and be like, oh, that's interesting, and maybe inspire something in my world. I'm not always. I never run adventures. Adventures are more inspiration for me. I like the hard crunch. Give me magic items. Give me subclasses. Give me races. Give me whatever else you can. And this book has two new races, the fairy and the Heron-Gon, formerly the rabbit folk. We talked about this a little bit we did a video on what was due to come in Wild Beyond the Witchlight a few weeks back. I just want to kind of talk about some of the changes they made in terms of the two races from when it went from the UA up to now.
Which you also have a video on.
Exactly, yeah. Did we talk about this previously in the podcast about the differences?
When we talked about the UA when it was announced, when it came out first.
Oh yes, we talked about the UA.
And then we have another episode where we previewed Witchlight, Fizzban, and Strixhaven.
That's the one I'm thinking of. In terms of what content can be included in them. I think we talked about them being renamed from the Rabbit Folk to the Heron-Gon, which is a great name.
Yeah.
So first up, we're on top of the fairy. So the fairy has got a few little mechanical tweaks. So if you look at the UA, they're still a fae. They're still type small. They still have a walking speed of 30. They changed the flight.
Okay.
So the flight, as it was in the UA, used to be. Let's see here now. You have a flight speed equal to your walking speed and can hover. The flight is magical and does not require the use of your wings if you have them. So that's obviously an aesthetic thing, which can differ from fairy to fairy. But they've changed the wording a little bit. So it mentions here in the new one, you have specifically because of your wings. So I guess you have to have wings now. You have a fly speed equal to your walking speed, and you can't use this fly speed if you're wearing medium or heavy armor. So I think that brings it in line with the Aarakocra, because I'm pretty sure they can only have certain armor types. I'm going to double check that because I haven't looked at Aarakocra in a while.
Yeah, it makes sense that you couldn't wear plate armor when you have hollow bones.
It does, doesn't it? Let's look at one of my favorites, the Aarakocra.
Bird people.
Bird person. Love the Aarakocra. They're great. They have a fly speed, and yes, you can't wear medium or heavy armor while utilizing that, which is fair enough. But again, that kind of brings them in line with that. The fly speed is less because it's 30 feet instead of I believe the 60 or 50. It's 50 feet for an Aarakocra. But it's interesting. So they changed the hover property. They made it so that it's no longer a magical thing. I wonder if that may be something because they didn't want. I kind of like the idea of it being magical. It kind of reminds me of Tinkerbell.
Oh.
And I kind of think like, so if fairy dust is what lets you fly, if you're in an anti-magic field, can you not fly? You know? And stuff like that is kind of interesting to me. Whereas this is just like no, it's just wings, like a crow. It's just wings, like a crow.
Yeah. Well, like aside from I don't know, like because see this is where it gets difficult, right? Because like fairies with the wings and stuff is very Disney, whereas in most cultures they don't necessarily look like that. So you can't be like, well, in the mythology they're like this and this, and it's like no, we literally have Peter Pan really to go on, and then like there's a lot of English folklore, like Arthur Conan Doyle full on believed in fairies. The guy who wrote not Shakespeare, Jesus Christ, Martin. The guy who wrote
he wrote a man into existence from hundreds of years prior to him.
My brain has also apparently not caught up from drinking 2 days ago because I thought
that's impressive. It's like it's a bit like Death Note, but it's the opposite way around.
Why can I not remember this guy? He's the greatest detective ever.
Instead of writing
Sherlock
someone's name
Holmes,
in a book and then dying in the future, you write their
Holmes.
name into a book and then they become alive from the past.
What you watched there was my brain slowly die, reboot, then come back online. But yeah, it was that Sherlock Holmes, the guy who wrote Sherlock Holmes. He was full on believed in fairies, and yeah, thought they were like scurrying around at the bottoms of the earth.
Well, fairies are real, man. Everyone knows that. Don't go near a fairy fort. Don't damage a fairy fort, or you'll be cursed.
That's different. Yeah, but anyway.
Those are Irish fairies, not English. English fairies? No, those aren't English fairies.
American
there is Irish fairies.
There is English fairies. Well, myth. Doesn't matter. Not important. Not what we're talking about today. But yeah, that's pretty dope. I do like the Herringon a bit more though.
Okay, we'll move on to that in a second. So yeah, so the wings thing is interesting.
Yep.
We kind of stuttered a bit there, did we?
I did anyway. I locked the stream, but we're all good. We didn't drop or anything.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, so I think that the flying thing is interesting. Not a huge deal. They keep the same spellcasting feature as well, where they get fairy fire.
How did I miss the enlarge reduce at 5th level? Jesus.
Which is not so the. Oh my god, it's exactly like Hook. Because remember that one scene where Julia Roberts as Tinkerbell turned into a full-size woman in a dress and danced with Peter?
You got far too excited about that.
I like Hook. It's a good movie.
But yes, I do know that you mentioned it. Remember that, yeah. And so they can do Fairy Fire at 3rd level and Enlarge Reduce at 5th. And once they use that to cast either, they can't cast any more spells until they finish Long Rest. Oh, that's cool. You can also cast either of those spells using any spell slots you have of the appropriate level. That's pretty sick, actually. So, those are like added if you had like a fairy wizard. Those would be added.
It's basically it's on your list, yeah.
That's pretty sick, actually. Ooh,
fairy wizard might be spell as well.
I was thinking actually like fairy wizard or like a fireball wizard, just because the extra spells you get could be really good.
Yeah, I was Here's actually okay. If we're just to rope this in terms of what classes, I think I talked about this when we talked about the UA originally, and the next feature which was taken out was called Fey Passage, where you can squeeze through spaces as narrow as 1 inch. That's not in the final build in the book, and I'm kind of annoyed because I had a really cool idea for like a Tooth Fairy build where she would go through crevices into houses and perform Tooth Fairy duties and all that kind of stuff, but that can't be done anymore, bro, because it can, but just not as easily. Because I always thought that way, that just squeezing into small gaps and then appearing inside the house and then stealing a child's teeth
See, this is where
Always
we
seemed like an
differ.
interesting character.
I immediately went going rogue as well. I went soul knife, so that you could go in and out between locks. They can't find any weapons on you if you're ever caught, and then there's no one who can really keep you down. Like
I was gonna go arcane trickster.
you've like plus 1,000,000 to your stealth roll. You can get through any gap that's an inch wide. Who makes handcuffs that are less than an inch?
Just slip out of them. It's like what's the movie?
You'll be the Captain Jack of
Now
the
You See
fairies,
Me.
like.
It's like the movie Now You See Me, where he's in the handcuffs and he kind of goes whoosh, and they just appear on the other guy.
Oh god,
Those are some bad movies.
I haven't seen those in years, man. Absolutely years. That's no. Sorry, I'm thinking of Catch Me If You Can.
Oh yeah. This the first one. There's two movies. The first one is called Now You See Me, and the second one's called Now You See Me Too. But there's this rant online from the Harmontown podcast where Dan Harmon goes on a full-on 15-minute rant about why it should have been called Now You Don't.
Okay.
And he's losing his absolute marbles about the naming convention of these really bad movies.
I'll have to look that one up because I saw him go on a rant about. He did a big long Instagram post about buying expensive microwaves recently, and I was like, "You are inordinately passionate about this, sir." Yeah, I think he bought like a 15 grand. He bought like a 15 grand microwave.
Why?
I
don't know.
I think because he literally sorted it from most expensive to least, and then was like, "What's the most expensive microwave I could buy on Amazon?"
I don't even know what you'd get for. Did you say 15 grand or 1,500 quid?
I think it was like 15 grand.
I don't even know. That's like a gold-plated microwave. I don't even know what you'd get with that. Like, it would melt. The gold would just melt when you heated up the microwave.
It would want to come with a remote where I can press a button and a small robot comes out of the remote, flies over to the microwave and sets it for me, then turns around, gives a little wave, and flies back into the remote.
It'd be like the Rick and Morty thing when a microwave is sentient. It's like, what is my purpose?
Oh,
like, you microwave things.
No,
He's
that
like,
was that he made the butter passing robot.
It's a butter, but in this case, it'd be a microwave robot.
Oh man,
we're getting really off topic there. We're in a weird direction. That's my fault. Sorry for that. But yeah, that's it. It's just I think it's fine. I think the fairy is still a very, very cool class. I like it has a fly speed, which again not a lot of creatures get innately.
Yeah.
Its fly speed is tied to its walking speed, so I'm throwing a bit of monk or mobile feat in there, and you can be moving pretty quickly.
Haste.
Cast haste on yourself. The you are Fey thing is interesting. Your creature type is Fey instead of humanoid. I'd have to look at it properly, but I know don't certain spells specify humanoid or there's actually no, it's maybe more magic items. Certain magic items I think maybe wouldn't affect or certain things wouldn't affect you because you're a Fey type, you know.
Other spells that normally wouldn't affect a humanoid will affect you as well. Like is it protection against good and evil? Yeah,
that would technically work against you. Also, if you cast to Paladin's Divine Sense, I'm pretty sure you know where the fairy is.
They'd show up, yeah. Would Anti-Magic Shell keep them out?
I don't think so. I think Anti-Magic Shell literally just stops magic itself, which, as we've already discussed, does not include the wings of the fairy, so they can still fly into anti-magic fields.
Yeah. So no, I think there's a bunch of those detection and protection from spells that would all affect you now that wouldn't normally affect you if you were to say like a humanoid.
If you were to cast Conjure Fey and the character was the appropriate level, could you summon them from anywhere in the world to your position?
Do you know what that is? That's a tweet to Jeremy Crawford. Mm-hmm. Now tweet him. Do it. I know you're busy.
Can I conjure Fey? I think it's Conjure Woodland Being actually is the spell. So if I cast Conjure Woodland Being at an appropriately high level,
I'm pretty sure Fairy is on Conjure Woodland Being, isn't it?
It's Fey. The specification of Conjure Woodland Being is that the creatures you summon have to be Fey.
Oh yeah, but like a fairy, like in the list they give you, I'm pretty sure a fairy is in it because isn't there that like do you remember that old like broken combo that it was a thing on the internet for a while where like you conjure a fae, you conjure like 12 fairies and each of them casts polymorph on themselves and turns themselves into a T-Rex.
Sorry, I missed that. Oh, well, you basically summon a bunch of creatures and then you
Yeah,
You cast polymorph on them.
you conjure like 12 fairies, and then each of those fairies has the polymorph spell, and each of them polymorph themselves into a
Yes.
T-Rex.
Even if like, I mean, what challenge rating is a fairy? Because I mean, I'm even thinking like, I think that because
A
polymorph
fairy's
has
got
to
to be
be,
like a half or something.
uh, yeah, I think they are. I think they're half or a quarter. They're relatively low, but I'm just thinking because I think, let me see here now, not the fairy race, the fairy stat block, or is it pixie? I'm thinking of.
Do you know what it might be? I think it's Pixie actually. Sorry, it is. I think it is Pixie.
I think it's pixie.
Yeah, because the fairy here doesn't have it. So yeah, it would make sense.
So it is, yeah, it's pixie stat block. Pixies are 1/4, and because I think if you do it, so if you cast polymorph, uh, during a new form, when the creature must take a new form, transformation lasts a duration. New form can be any beast who, so it has to be a beast whose challenge rating is equal to or less than the target. So you wouldn't be able to turn them into a T-Rex necessarily, but you could pick any 1/4 creature. I think wolves are, no, not
Wait,
wolves,
what
but
is it? A quarter?
maybe
Is
a quarter.
a Pixie is a quarter?
A pixie is a quarter. So you would
You
have
could
to,
have 8 pixies.
yeah, you can have up to 8 pixies, but when you polymorph them, you have, or when they polymorph themselves, they have to turn into something that is of equal challenge rating to them.
Ah.
So we need to find. I'm gonna do the thing.
I think we might be deep in diving a bit deep on this.
Well, look, we're here. We're here. We've come this far. So I think it has to be a beast first of all. So it has to be a monster, and then we need to go by CR. I'm on D&D Beyond. Thank you, D&D Beyond, who's not a sponsor, but they're just helpful.
Also, if you want to, we would love it.
If you want to sponsor, yes. If you've absolutely nothing better to do with your time, D&D Beyond, by all means, throw us a sponsor. Oh my god. Okay, so just a couple of things to name here that you can polymorph a whole bunch of them into, right?
Mm-hmm.
An axe beak, which is basically like a chocobo. If you need to get 8 people on a rideable creature, because they're large-sized creatures, and you need to get them to a destination fast, conjure woodland beings, have them all polymorph into axe beaks, everyone hop on the axe beaks, you're suddenly a cavalry unit. Boars, cave badgers, constrictor snakes, cows, elks, giant bats, giant badgers, giant centipedes, giant frog, giant lizard, oh my god. Giant riding lizard, panthers, riding horses, axe beaks are better. Giant wolf spiders, velociraptors. You'd have a whole pack of you. Oh my god, you'd be Chris Pratt in Jurassic World with a herd of velociraptors at your command.
Oh god.
Yeah, great combo. Hella broken. I remember we played a long time ago, and I think the DM brought in something he found on Reddit at one point, and it was how someone kind of figured out how you can just, if you carry just dead bodies in a bag of holding or something.
The iron golem that like vomits an army of skeletons.
That's it, yeah. And then because when you do, you can just cast it on all the bones, and they all become animated, and you just have a whole, and you can just send a whole. I mean, it's a nightmare for a DM running that initiative, but.
You'll get to do that once, and then the DM will go, I think we're going to need you to join a different game or make a new character.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like every single enemy, regardless of what they are or who they are, will have dispel magic. Like every single one.
That's one of my, it sounds awful. That's one of my favorite things to do is make sure that at a certain point when there's a spellcaster in the party, that all my magic users start carrying counterspell.
Counterspell and dispel magic, two of the most annoying but also most brilliantly useful spells in the entire game.
Yeah.
Dispel magic isn't too
bad. No, it's not just fine. I mean, although you caught me a bit with it once when I had this whole magical puzzle thing set up, and you went, "Can I use dispel magic?" And I was like, "Oh, you have that, do you?" And you're like, "Yep." And I'm like, I read it. I'm like, "It's not even a save. It's just you undo a magical effect." And I'm like, "Okay, I guess you just turn off the puzzle and get the thing you need and leave."
You've gotten me back enough since.
That's the thing about me, Martin. I'll always get you back. So, you know, sorry, I have way too many tabs open. Okay, so we'll look at a Heron next. So the Heron Gone, formerly the Rabbit Folk, are. I had a couple issues with these guys when they came out in the UA. Mostly just like mechanically how the rulings worked. It wasn't a huge deal. So they are still humanoid. Your size is either medium or small, which is also the same as that. Your walking speed is 30. Hair trigger, you add your proficiency bonus to initiative rolls, which I believe hasn't changed. Yeah.
Nope.
Leporine, is that the right way to pronounce it? Leporine senses?
Yeah.
You have proficiency in perception. I think that stayed as well. It does.
That's cool.
Lucky footwork. When you fail a dexterity saving throw, you can use reaction to roll a d4 and add it to the save, potentially turning the failure into a success. You can't use the reaction if you're prone or your speed is 0.
Okay,
Ergo,
cool.
if you're grappled.
Yeah.
Which I think says the exact same. They've added a clarification, which is the prone/grappled thing, which I think is fair. You can use a reaction to roll a d4 and the result potentially, yeah. So it works the exact same. In the final version, there is you can't use that reaction if you're prone or your speed is 0, which I think is fine because it makes no sense that if you're being grappled by something, how are you going to be extra dexterous and get out of the way of a fireball, you know?
Totally.
Here's the one I had a problem with. And I think they've tweaked it. So previously, this rabbit hop was once during each of your turns, when you walk at least 5 feet, you can hop, roll a d12, and move that many feet in a direction of your choice. The extra distance doesn't cost movement, but you can hop only if your speed isn't 0. So again, that kind of works with the grapple thing. My problem with this is just that speed is done in 5-foot increments, and this says a d12, and I'm like, do you round up? Do you round down? That's it, like, even if you get a 12 as opposed to a 10, that's still really just a 10 because you would round that down. It was just a really weird way of ruling that. They've now changed it to, as a bonus action, you can jump a number of feet equal to 5 times your proficiency bonus. So it's always going to be multiples of 5. Thank you very much, Jeremy Crawford. It might not have been him, I don't know. Without provoking attacks, which is really cool. You can use this trait only if your speed isn't 0, same as before. You can use this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all uses when you finish a long rest. I prefer this way more. You can't use it as often, but it also can go potentially further as well. Because let's say by the time you're level 5, you're going to be jumping when you start off, you're jumping 10 feet on your jump, which is like reasonable, I think. But then when you hit level 5, you're already jumping more than the maximum roll on that d12 would allow you to do. And then of course that's going to scale up, and by 17th level you're hopping 30 feet over gorges and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think putting a cap on it's reasonable, because it's like, you get exhausted from making these enormous bounds and leaps over things. But I like this. It's just cleaner. It works a lot better in my opinion. I'm a real stickler when it comes to like rules and stuff like that, me in D&D. But this makes sense because, again, multiple to 5, Martin. I like numbers. I like good, clean numbers.
I like easy maths.
Yeah, that too.
Because I don't like maths.
I like maths, but I like it when it makes sense.
I'm a dungeon master, not a mathematician. Don't ask me about numbers.
I think ultimately, the two Fairy got a bit, again, I liked the sneaking through the gaps thing, but it's not the worst thing in the world that's gone. Still a cool race, still fun, and I think I'm more interested in the Heron Gone now that they've fixed the rabbit hop, and I think that all the other abilities are great. I mean, the hair trigger, the Leporine senses, the lucky footwork, all are fantastic.
Some really good monks with
some great monks, some great rogues as well.
A range would be pretty cool and kind of thematically appropriate. Yeah,
absolutely, yeah. So I think there's a whole host of really interesting stuff there. Also, I mean, let's say example. I mean, you're currently playing a barb, for example. You have no dex bonus, so you're just rolling flat on your initiative. If you were playing a Heron Gone barb or something like that, add your proficiency bonus, so you're guaranteed that your initiative's always scaling up, even if you're playing a class that doesn't necessarily require dex. You won't have to invest in dex to get that initiative bonus.
Yeah, that's true. And also, the art is awesome. It's a Heron Gone, I guess, a fighter with a halberd. It's pretty sick.
He's got a halberd, yeah. It's really, really cool. Again, I was kind of like humming and hawing on them. I'm like, this is a little too fairy tale for me. I'm now considering, like, where can I put these guys in my homebrew world? That will make sense.
You know they're just gonna always end up in a place called the Warrens in somewhere's like someone's homebrew world. It's always gonna be like the
Yeah.
Warrens.
What size are they? Height.
They're medium, aren't they? Medium or small,
Oh,
your
they're
choice.
medium or small, but they typically fall into the same range of height and weight as humans in our world. Is what it says
Damn,
here in the thing. So
damn.
they
I
look kind
do.
of kind of short in the art, but I mean, like that means that they're like 5 to 6 foot
Yeah.
tall,
Can
and
you
then ears on top of that.
can you imagine getting kicked by one of those? Jesus,
It'd be like getting kicked by a kangaroo.
that's a bit like getting kicked by a horse.
Yeah.
Christ. Oh my god, I do not want that in my life.
But yeah, I honestly I like him. I like him a lot. Wild Beyond the Witchlight is pretty good book. Great art, some really cool stuff. I do have a couple other things I want to talk about with it later, but I kind of rolled in with what else we're talking about this episode. So if you're okay with moving on, Martin, we absolutely can.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Martin, where to even start? Because we got an absolute rake of information last night, yesterday/last night, depending on your time zone, where we just got a whole new announcement for more books that are coming, more settings. I think I'll start off with the kind of the biggest news, but also like the probably the thing we know the least about, I guess, which is that coming 2024,
Yes.
D&D's next edition, which hasn't been officially called 6E or anything. It's more like a 5.5. They've said that in 2024 they've basically earlier this year they started putting together the groundwork for what will be the next iteration of D&D. Now, again, they haven't strictly said that it's called 5.5 or that it's called 6 or anything, but they did say that it will be backwards compatible with all of the pre-existing 5E stuff that we already have. So kind of a 5.5 in that sense.
Thank you, Based Wizards. I did not want to rebuy all those.
Yeah, no, God, I mean, it'd be a very weird move for them to do that, because I feel like to still be releasing so much stuff now, only to say, oh, that's great, yeah, keep buying our books, they're all really good, glad you're enjoying them. By the way, in 3 years' time, they won't matter.
Yeah.
But no, I'm excited. Like, I think what they're saying is it's kind of going to be a revision of some of the existing stuff.
Yes.
So the rules will probably largely be the same. They'll probably clarify some stuff and tweak some things. I'd be interested to see. They'll probably rewrite some of the base classes.
Oh, don't tempt me, Connor, in case they rewrite the base ranger.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're probably going to do something there. I mean, with Tasha's and the optional class features and stuff, and I think they tweaked the Beastmaster as well, right? In Tasha's.
I know that wasn't that the Swarm Keeper?
Oh no, I mean the Swarmkeeper was in there, but was there not an optional? I could be completely off on this. I haven't looked at Tasha's now in a couple of weeks. I'm just going to go to Ranger here and go to the optional class features. Maybe I'm misremembering it. Maybe Beastmaster is still broken as hell, so and I'm just misremembering this.
I'll be honest, I don't tend to look at Ranger a whole bunch.
Sadly, I don't either, and that's a shame because it used to be the class I played. Let me see here now. No, it doesn't look like it. Druid War, Spellcasting for Primal Awareness. No, there's a bunch of different stuff there for the Ranger. Some of the optional class features. I think we're still using Beastmaster as it was, which is to say terribly.
We're getting Drake Warden and Fizzband stuff, so
I can't wait for Drake Warden.
oh, it looks so good.
I think Drake Warden's going to be so good.
Who doesn't want a pet dragon? Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that poor Beastmaster. Sorry, I'm just looking at it here. I played a Beastmaster. It was my first class.
If you're on YouTube right now, you can see the sorrow in Connor's eyes.
Look closely. Like I was told, yeah. So what I was told was when it was described to me and when I was trying to pick a subclass is what are the two subclasses, and the DM said, so one is called Hunter and one is called Beastmaster. The Hunter one makes you kind of better at fighting, and then the Beastmaster one means you get a pet dog that you can train. And I was like, oh, pet dog, obviously. That sounds way more interesting just being better at fighting. It turns out the hunter is far, far superior than the ranger, or than the beastmaster.
An embarrassingly amount better than the Beastmaster.
Yeah, like how did this get through playtesting and all internal testing to the point where you're like, this is fine.
Fine is literally what they probably said was like, right, deadline's in 3 weeks. This is like 90%. We gotta go.
I would like, you know me as well. Okay, so obviously Ranger, I think, is a lot of people's qualm when it comes to, or quarry, I should say, when it comes to what class do you think needs the most improvement or work. Ranger tends to be one of the ones people jump on. I think a lot of the other classes, whatever little issues you might have had, a lot of the other classes were kind of resolved with Tasha's.
Yeah.
I think the optional class features alleviated a lot of it. I'm still holding out that they will completely redo the Elemental Monk, because so help me, I need to play like a bender of the elements. And if, you know, I just...
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think they will. I don't think they will.
Look, right, and I'll hold out hope. Hope is all I have.
You've hope, and that awesome Mark Hume's homebrew for the Elemental Monk also that you could totally play.
No, I shall homebrew my own. If they don't, I'll just homebrew my own. I don't care.
Yeah. I'll make my own monk with blackjack and hookers.
Do you know what? Forget the monk. Yeah, no, I mean, look. Other than that, I mean, I don't think personally, I don't think a lot of the other classes need that much work. I think the ranger is actually, again, with the optional class features, ranger is pretty good, and I think most of the ranger subclasses are actually really, really cool as well. Swarm keeper is great. Hunter is really, really good. Horizon walker is okay. Gloomstalker is brilliant.
Monster Slayer is
Fey
awesome.
Wanderer is pretty cool. I think Beastmaster and Monster Slayer are kind of
I really like Monster Slayer. It's the most Witcher.
do you?
It's like if you were to combine that with the Blood Hunter, you literally get a Witcher.
Oh yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not mechanically. I just think it's a little bit on the weaker side, personally. But it's still good. It's not like, again, it's not mechanically broken. I think preference-wise, I kind of prefer like a Shadow. What's it called? Shadow Stalker.
Gloomstalker.
Gloomstalker, thank you. Or like a Swarm Keeper or something like that. Actually, I was thinking about this the other day, because if you look at the Ranger Swarm Keeper, just while we're on the topic, it gives you like a bunch of options on what your swarm can be, whether it's swarm of insects,
Oh my
miniature twig
God.
blight.
You could have a swarm of the mushrooms.
I was gonna say, like, there's nothing that says your swarm has to be creatures, because technically it doesn't have hit points. It's just a thing that moves around, almost like a spell effect.
Right.
But it can do damage and stuff like that, but it doesn't actually have hit points. It can't be killed. It can't be healed. None of that. Why can't it be sand and you just play Gara from Naruto?
Ooh, that would be really cool.
Because it can attack people, it can hover around you, it can defend you. At later levels, I think it can do a thing where it can grab you and move you to a new position. That could be like when Gara creates the pedestal thing of sands that he hovers on. Like,
Yeah.
I think really cool.
I'm surprised you went for him first and not the guy who actually uses insects to attack, which is Shino.
I didn't even think of Shino. I just think Shino's really, really cool, but my mind didn't even go. I immediately went like, ooh, like you could just make this, like, reskin this and make it like sand, and he's just Gara, which is really cool.
Do a Dampier Swarm Keeper and your swarm are mosquitoes.
And they collect the blood and bring it back to you.
Yeah,
That's really cool. Yeah, I like that. That's actually unreal.
that would be sick.
But yeah, that's a big announcement. Hopefully, that's the big thing. I think. I think that's the thing people have been thinking is coming for a long time. I mean, it was always going to. We're on 5e now. Of course, we're going to have a 6 in some form or another eventually. You know, you're not going to see Jeremy Crawford in 25 years still writing 5e books. Like. But so I think I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to see what to do. Like you said, it's a slim chance that my major issue with one of the classes probably won't be addressed, but we'll see.
I think there's probably, like, my opinion of it, I think there'll probably be a lot of like QOL, quality of life, improvements for things, like just like small like improvements, streamlining things, maybe the wording of things, maybe just slide, because what they've said and what I understand of it is, then with the which is another thing they've announced, was the that new bundle that'll be coming out in January, which is basically the expanded rules bundle. I think that's what they were calling it, or the expanded rule set bundle, and it's it's Tasha's, it's Xanthar's, and it's a third new book
called Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse.
That will have that will actually have completely new monsters in there as well. But they also said that, as well as that, and in the updated kind of players rules, they'll have like they've been improvements made based on all those surveys that they do every time they do like a homebrew or a book comes out, where they do a survey to see what people think. They said like most of the new sort of improvements that will be in that will be based on the surveys that they've done for people. So that'll be cool in case, like Joe, you'll be able to see what kind of effect like our own feedback has on the thing, because I'll usually always fill them out just for the crack, but also because, like, you know, it might actually do something.
Yeah, this is probably the thing I'm most excited about, because this ties in with pretty much everything else that's coming down the pipeline for the most part.
Yes.
So with this new book,
also the cover art is sick.
The cover art's great. It's Mordenkainen riding
It's Mordenkainen on the back of a Kieran with an ancestral dreadnought behind them.
Yeah,
and he's got like a globe of light or a fireball in his hand as well.
Yeah, it's real metal album.
I was literally just thinking that it's like an 80s glam metal cover, like you know what it's very like, actually it's like a Meatloaf album cover.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I'm particularly pumped for this. When I saw it last night, I was like, "Ooh, that looks really, really good." So basically, the way this collection works, this is coming out January next year, so January 22. The way the collection is intended to work, and I really like that they're thinking this way. There's actually January 22. There's never been a better time to invest in D&D and get into D&D proper, because previously, if you want to kind of have access to all the monsters and all the classes and all that kind of stuff, you needed to have the 3 core books, plus Tasha's, plus Tasha's plus Xanathar's. Then for all the extra monsters, you needed Mordenkainen's, Volo's, plus a whole host of adventures where there's, you know, a dozen or so monsters in each adventure that you wanted to include. Then if you wanted all the races, you had to get like the Grung additional thing, the Turtle package additional thing. You needed to get the what's it called, the Loka, the fish people,
Lokata Rising.
Yes, you need to get that one. You also needed to get like the Elemental Evils edition. What's it called? I haven't.
Didn't Warforged only come in as part of Eberron as well?
And Warforged, it's the Elemental Evils player companion is what I'm thinking of. You needed the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. You needed.
I'm glad they got rid of that, because SCAG is a horrible acronym.
It is a really bad acronym. There's a whole bunch of stuff here. You basically needed a bunch of different books. And it's called One Grung Above.
Yes.
Yeah, and you needed a whole bunch of extra stuff if you wanted to have access to all the races. And like, you might not want, like, we'll say for example, I'm trying to think here. Okay, you might have no interest in something like.
Are you about to pitch us on D&D microtransactions?
No. No, I'm just saying, like, we'll say for some of these things, like, maybe you don't really have any interest in the lore of some of the monsters that appear on Volos, and the first 2/3 of that book is just lore on
it's the blood
giants.
War, isn't it?
That's Mordenkainen's.
Okay, yeah.
It's giants, and it's Mindflayers and orcs and goblins and a bunch of other stuff. Maybe you don't care about that. Maybe you just want the mechanical monster stat blocks so you can run your games. In which case, buying Volos might be kind of necessary to get some of those monsters, but you may not really. You're kind of wasting extra money that you would maybe rather not. This is basically collecting over 250 monsters from all of these additional sources, so you don't have to go buying adventures and all these and all these other side things that maybe you're not interested in, and it puts it into one book, and it pairs it with the 2 other class expansion things, so that if you want to get into D&D and you just want to have access to all the rules and all the class options and all the races and everything, it also takes all the races from all of these as well, because like you said, Warforged is in Eberron. So is Changeling, and a couple other ones are also in Eberron and only in Eberron. There's a couple of them that appear in Guildmaster's Guide, a couple that appear in you have the Turtle, the Grung, the Lokatha.
Loxodon is, I believe, what came in from Guildmaster's Guide, is one of them.
Yes, exactly, yeah. You have a bunch that came in Volo's Guide. You have some that are in Volo's Guide that are also in the Elemental Evils Companion, but some in the Elemental Evils Companion that are not in Volo's Guide. Don't ask me why. Like, for example, the Genasi don't appear in Volo's, but they are in the Elemental Evil thing, and only in the Elemental Evils Companion. So, again, it's really, really messy, but this now collects 30 plus races. So, I think the 30 plus races, like, if you minus the 9 races that are in the player's handbook, you'd come to about the 30 plus mark, because it's 40 something.
And I think there's 2 new playable races also coming with that bundle. With the Mordenkainen's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's 2 new, and I'm willing to bet they are the 2 ones that were cut from the Fae book, the Hobgoblin of the Fae and...
Oh, quite possible. Well, is the Owlfolk not coming with
That's coming with Strixhaven, yeah, but I think Hobgoblin of the Fae and the Kobold.
The additional Kobold, that's right, yeah.
Hobgoblin of the Fae and the Kobold, I bet they'll both come with the Mordenkainen presents them.
The Kobold's in the dragon thing. The Kobold may come with that, or it may come with Fizban.
True, yeah. Because Fizban will be out by the time that comes out.
Yeah. But I mean, like, so this is the kind of thing. It's collecting all the additional monsters that you would have had to buy, literally a dozen other books to get. It's adding them in. It's collecting all the other races you would have had to buy at least half a dozen other books to get and putting them into this. It's updating all of them and revising the rules. And it's putting them all in one book, so that you need literally the 3 core books and these 3 expansion books, and you're done.
Yeah.
You could literally run everything in D&D with that.
Oh, and as always, there's some incredibly sick alternate covers. Oh my god, there's one of them I think it might be the Monsters one. It's just like an all white cover, and there's a golden Kirin like prancing across the front of it. It looks so good. Oh,
I hate it.
Why?
I hate it.
I hate it so much. Blasphemy.
No, here's the thing, right? If I was thinking about this earlier, I think those white covers will not stay white for long. They will get so grubby and so dirty so
When
fast.
did you get so old? And look, he has no response because he knows I'm right.
I know you're right. Fuck off. No, first of all, they won't stay right for long, right? Secondly, if I'm getting
he keeps his Funko Pops inside the box as well.
Hey, no, shut up.
Mine are free range. You can see him right back there.
Thor and Jack is what you are.
Thor and Jack Skellington hanging out like the best of pals.
How are you meant to stack all 120 something of your Funko Pops on top of one another and occupy an entire wall of one room of your house if you don't have them in the boxes? That's damn right, Martin. You fucking can't.
It depends on how you define a stack.
Literally putting them one on top of the other. That's the definition of the term stacking.
I can do that. It might just look a little different from yours.
Yours would be like super dude. They'll be coming off at weird angles. And
no,
stuff like a tree.
I just go like this and push them all together, and then it's stacked. Done. Job done. Lovely.
No. You're a heathen, is what you are.
I'm a boxless heathen.
Yeah. I like to think inside the box. Thank you very much. And only inside the box. Outside the box is scary. I'm Stinky Pete from Toy Story 2. I don't want to leave my box.
At least your voice is Kelsey Grammer.
That's true. Oh my god, it was Kelsey Grammer. Yeah. Oh my god, I haven't thought about that movie in a long time. But yes, so I lost entire track of what I was talking about there.
We were just talking about that bundle and how it was streamlined and getting all the new races in and how you don't have to buy everything now. You just need 6 books.
That's right. I was complaining about the covers. So if I'm getting like a phone or a laptop or anything like that, right? I want it, or I like it to be neat, smooth. I don't like it to have too many, if like older phones, a lot of them had weird grips on them and different colored panels and all this other stuff. I hate that. I like most modern smartphones are just sleek and one color and they're really nice and crisp looking, right? Same with modern laptops, everything. Love all that. I like crisp, I like modern, and those books are crisp and they're modern and they're sleek and they're minimalist. And I dig that. Not on books. If you're giving me a D&D book, I want that thing covered from head to toe in art. I don't want you to waste a square millimeter. I want to see. If I spot a blank millimeter, I want to look in closer and I want to see a tiny little goblin flipping me off. All right. I want art all over these things. And honestly, I feel like the all white covers kind of feel cheap to me. I'm like,
I don't know. I like them. I think they look very clean. But I also like the white PS5. So
I mean, I don't think there hasn't been any announcement that they're going to do different color panels for PS5, is it?
I don't think so, but I think there's a red one. I think there's a red one
You
and a
might.
black one coming out. I'm not sure.
I'd like, yeah, I don't know. I'd like a nice blue because I have a really cool Uncharted 4 blue PS4, and it kind of matches the room it's in. I'd like to have something similar because the big white box just goes with nothing else in the room.
I'll give it. It is massive. I'm sitting down now, and I'm sitting down. It comes up to my knee,
Yeah.
but I am also not the tallest man, so you know.
But
Gauge it
yeah,
by that.
look. Regardless of how we feel about the alt covers, even the basic cover, really, really cool.
Yes.
I do like it an awful lot. Actually, I might end up being in a position like I was previously because I remember when Mordenkainen's first came out, I looked at the two covers online, and I said to myself, I looked at the alt one, and I didn't think it looked all that good. I'm like, I just think the main cover is nicer. It's more bright and colorful. I kind of like preferred it, so I actively didn't get the alt cover. And then it came out, and you had the alt cover, and you brought it over, and I'm like, God, that looks way better in person than it did online. And I was raging. Because the alt cover from Mordenkainen's looks great. It's just when you look at a 2D image of it on online on Facebook, whatever, it just doesn't have the same
I
light.
do actually have it here to hand. It's just at the bottom of the pile of my D&D books.
Stand by for Martin.
There we go. Boom.
Yeah. Oh God, I hate that I didn't pick it up when I had a chance.
And it's nice and like reflective as well.
That's the thing. You weren't able to see the reflective nature of it when you saw the picture online. And now and then you brought it to the session one day, and I looked at it and I went, God fucking damn it!
Yeah.
Why didn't I get this?
Funnily enough, it is actually literally the only special edition cover I have.
Oh yeah, I have a bunch of the other ones which I'm quite happy with. I have Tasha's. I love the special edition for Tasha's.
I think this may have actually been like the last physical D&D book I bought. Was this because now I just buy everything on D&D Beyond just for space saving.
Yeah, you said that before. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, as soon as I have more space, I'm gonna eBay the shit out of all these and get a bunch of the cool covers. Oh God.
Yeah.
There's so many books I have to move again now.
It's okay, folks. I'll entertain you while Martin's gone. So.
And we're back.
Shortest entertaining gig ever. Just definitely joke with someone who got fired from something there, but I can't. I don't know.
So what's next, Connor?
You want from the Mandalorian? I don't know. Doesn't matter. So, I lost where. Oh yeah. So basically, the book, yes. Okay. Regardless how we feel about the alt covers and all that kind of jazz, and the content of the book is top, and I can't wait. Something you mentioned a while ago about quality of life improvements when it comes to like the new edition and stuff like that. They are doing a number of quality of life improvements for the way in which these monsters are laid out.
Yes.
Some of them are kind of like, all right, fine, I guess.
Some of them
are like
badly fucking needed.
Some of them I'm like, I go back and forth on, right? So, simple one to get out of the way at first. Monsters will be alphabetized now.
Oh, thank God.
Well, see, I go back and forth on this, right? Because I'm like, okay, on the one hand, I get why. It makes total sense if you're looking. I think the example Crawford gave was Glabar's new, which is a type of demon. And I'm like, totally get it. You're like looking for that monster. You go to the section G. Technically, it's under G, but actually it's under D for demons. Or is it under F for fiends? See, I don't even know, but it doesn't matter. My point, I get why. I get it. I do. The thing is, and I don't actually mind it when it comes to gold dragons. Although they'd have to be under dragon, gold. Because that only makes sense. But I get it when it comes to like gold dragon, stone golem, goblin boss. These are things I remember the names of. I don't always remember the really weird names of the various demons. And like, I know sometimes when I'm like, I like having them bundled together because I'll be in the middle of a campaign and I'm like, ooh, the guys are going through this particular dungeon. I know that there's a hell portal in there, so I want to put some demons or something in. Let me go to the demon section of the book and I'll pick something from there. That won't be an option now. Now, you still have D&D Beyond, so that's not a huge issue. But if you were going purely on the books, that would be something that I think I like that they group them like that. I don't have a problem with it. It's not something I would have asked to change, but I also get why they do it. It's, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I think it is just to make it easier on people, because I do distinctly remember the first time I opened up the monster manual and I was looking for like, yeah, and I was very shocked it wasn't alphabetized. I was like, real up. I actually did find it fairly confusing and hard to find what I was looking for initially. I just kind of had to sit down and read a bunch of it, which obviously not the worst experience in the world either. There's a lot of really cool stuff in the monster manual, but yeah, still, like, I would. Yeah, I'm happy it's been done. Most of the time when I'm looking for monsters, I do it on D&D Beyond anyway, so I can just filter by type and by CR, and hell, you can even filter down to if they fly or not. I actually really like that. I find that super useful.
Let me ask you this, and this is absolutely nothing to do with us putting on a podcast.
Okay.
But when you're filtering through monsters, is there a way to filter ones that have the spellcasting feature? I've been looking for it. I don't think there is. And sometimes I want to just look for spellcasters or monsters that have the ability to cast spells.
Let's see. Oh no, that's a different thing. It might be under. It might be under the. Have you checked under the like advanced filters for it?
I have advanced filters open. I see you have movement types, so you can go burrow, fly, swim, climb, which is cool. Vulnerabilities are there. Has a layer, doesn't has a layer, is a mythic creature. There's even like save proficiencies, but there isn't anything that's like features where it's like has spellcasting, has regeneration, or something like that, That's more of a D&D Beyond issue than anything else, but I mean, I agree with what you're saying though. I mean, nowadays I typically I use D&D Beyond. I used to sit down watching TV with the monster manual open on my lap, flicking back and forth, thinking what will I put the guys up against this week. And now, nowadays, I'm like, okay, I know that they're in this region. I know that this type of creature typically hangs out here, and I know what level the guys are. So this CR monster should typically be appropriate. Go on to D&D Beyond, add in those filters. Here's 20 monsters you can use of various levels that would be perfectly suitable for this environment. Great. Bing, bang, boom, knock it out. For that reason, maybe, I think I never would have asked for this particular quality of life improvement. I'm not heavily against it or anything, though. I feel like it's fine. It works. And the thing is, and here's the thing, actually. Do you know why I think I maybe have reservations about it? I use Creature Codex and Tome of Foes. Those are done that way. Those are done in such a way that even when you go to the demon section, they're called like it's demon comma something. It's the type of demon that they are. But then there's times where I'm like, I know the monster, I know the specific, I know what it looks like, I know what its kind of description is, and what it can do. I cannot remember the name of it because it's a really weird, obscure monster that only appears in the Midgard setting or something like that. And then it's like, I'm there for ages flicking through the book trying to find it. So I think I just prefer when certain things are grouped, like dragons, demons. I think all the elementals are grouped together. Drow are grouped together, because again, if I'm putting you guys up against Drow, I want all the Drow in front of me that I can see everything they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna start any fires over it. Like,
I'd imagine what they'll do is they'll have it all alphabetized, but probably like when you flick over, say like you're looking at a red dragon, you'll probably flick over onto the page, and somewhere on the page there'll be like a little symbol that for like dragon, and then if you flick over onto like Abahir, which is a monstrosity, I believe, there'll be a little symbol for it. I'll imagine they'll do like a different small symbol to denote each thing, like they have for classes. And then it'll just be like,
I get you.
You can still have your A to Z, but okay, flick over and it's like, okay, this is a giant, this is a dragon, this is a demon, this is a fiend.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, and look, at the end of the day, I mean, like, I never would have asked for this because I use D&D Beyond when I want to filter through certain monsters. I'm going to continue to use D&D Beyond, filtering through monsters.
Yeah.
So, this is nice. This is maybe not for me, so I guess I have no place complaining about it. Because this is more so for people who strictly use the physical books, and it's for them to be able to more easily navigate things.
I like it though.
So that's fair enough. No, it's good. It's good. I like, and again, they wouldn't have done it unless people were asking for it. So I can appreciate that. Obviously, some people in the community want that. So I'm like, by all means, because we're all trying to have a good time. Okay. This is a bigger thing when it comes to how they are changing monsters and presenting monsters. So they are changing the way that spellcasters, particularly spellcasting monsters, appear in the the stat blocks in the monster box. So whereas previously, for you to have like an archmage or something like that, it would be the armor class, the health, the movement, all the attribute, the strength, dex, blah blah blah. And then below that, there's like a features section that appears between the top characteristics and the action section. And in here, there's usually a spellcasting feature, and it will say something like, "This is a 17th level spellcaster. Their spell slave DC is 17. Their spell attack is this. Intelligence is a spellcasting modifier." And then it gives you a whole host of spells and tells you what level they are and how many level slots they have. It is a lot of information.
Yeah.
It can be kind of cumbersome. Only a couple of weeks ago, I put you guys up against an assassin, a warlord, an archmage, and a 12th level cleric. Now, the assassin and the warlord were fine, straightforward enough, but the mage and the cleric had two different spell casting bonuses, and they also had two separate. Yeah, the different spells. They had different amounts of spell slots. I had to keep track of them on a piece of paper. What they're doing now is they're basically stripping away that. They're giving them some spells, but they don't use spell slots. So DMs no longer have to count spell slots for. When I say monsters, I mean, people you are fighting. Sometimes they are humanoids, but when I say monsters, I'm creatures. I mean the creatures that you fight, that the DM uses against the players, or in some cases with the players. So in these cases, yeah, it is it's an interesting take. I kind of like it. It's kind of streamlining things. Sometimes I like to have a monster that has a full list of 1st to 9th level spells, and I like having the versatility of a high level caster, so I can hit someone with a banishment, I can hit someone with a circle of death, I can do cloud kill, I can do fireball, but I can also do wall of force, or I can do a greater invisibility or fly or something like that. I like having all these different options in a spell list. But I also, like I said, only a couple of weeks ago, I was there kind of struggling to stay on top of 4 very different stat blocks throughout a fight.
Yeah.
And I can understand why they would do that. I would still like the option, and I don't know how this is going to work, because like we said, this book is a rework of all of the monsters and stuff that have kind of come up in various books before. The example that they did, one of the examples they did, was the War Priest, which appears in Volo's guide. They basically showed us a new version where they take out the spells, they give it the ability to do like a ranged spell attack, which is just part of its action. It's kind of like a cantrip almost, and then they give it like an ability that recharges on a D6 or D5, D6.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a breath weapon, but I think it's like an area of effect. Do you know what it is actually? No, sorry.
You're thinking of a bard there, I think. They showed a dragonborn bard and it had something similar. It was in the same kind of presentation. The spells thing though is what they're doing is they'll give you certain spells that you always will have and will have at will, and then there are other ones you'll have times a day, and then it's just like your action to cast. That's it. There's no.
It's the format of instead of being a big list of spells and how many spell slots, it's the format of the innate spellcasting feature is what they've now converted into just spellcasting.
Yeah.
Which was always quicker to read as well for a TM, so I do appreciate it. But that ability that I was told you about, I just remembered because I was reading earlier, the War Priest one had the ability to do basically a radiant fireball that recharged on a 5 or 6, or maybe it was just a 6, but it was 8d6 radiant. It was a 20-foot radius. It was a dex save, I believe. And it had the range of 120 or 150, so it was basically a fireball, but it was radiant damage. Which, I mean, like, here's the thing, though. And we talked about this last episode. We talked about giants.
Yes.
And I talked about how I think giants are great, but all the stat blocks look very similar. And then previously, when we talked about dragons, I said the same thing. I love dragons, but all the stat blocks are very similar. This might be a good window into really creating some unique abilities that are not just strictly going, here's a fighter who can also cast shield. Give them an ability that's similar to shield, or maybe shield with a spin, because it's not strictly that spell, you know? So this might be a good way to get a bit of diversity into some of the characters and some of the monsters.
Totally. And just to go back to the one I mentioned earlier as well, because they showed off the bard updated as well, the creature, the stat block for a bard as a creature. And similarly, it had like a recharge 5/6 ability, which is called Cacophony. and I think it might have been like 46 or 48, like thunder damage. And basically, you play your instrument, and just cause like a wall of noise around you in like, I think it was like 15 or 20 feet or something like that as well. But yeah, similar. Like I really like if this is the road they're going, where to make things feel less copy pasta, that they're giving them these recharge 5-6 abilities, because
You said copy pasta?
yeah, copy pasta, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Never heard that before.
How have you been on the internet this long and you've never heard something called copy pasta?
Hmm.
Dude.
Copy paste.
Yeah, and it's copy pasta. Come on.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, we're moving on. We're moving on.
I'm not on the League subreddits, Martin. I don't know.
That's just a Twitch thing, Connor. Screw you.
Oh, there you go. I'm not on Twitch. There you go. I go on Twitch.
No, it's
maybe
just
once a week just to watch CR early and not have to wait till Monday, and that's about it.
No, it's more of an interesting thing. But anyway, yeah, I've now entirely been derailed from what I was going to say there.
Thank you. It's what I do best.
But sorry, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I like that they're making them feel less cookie cutter, less copy pasta, by giving them these like very specific to like the core of their identity, I suppose, as a creature abilities. So like. Yeah. Your cleric can do a goddamn spirit bomb. Your bard can just use noise as a weapon, which is totally fitting. I'd be very curious to see what stuff maybe now if they've done that to say like the bard and the war priest, maybe like see what they've done maybe with like the assassin, the warlord, archmage, stuff like that. I'm really curious to see what they've done with the archmage now, considering they're doing that with spellcasting.
But yeah, I mean, like an archmage. Let me just bring it up here. An archmage had like 9th level spellcasting abilities. Like, God, my throat is a bit. Sorry. My voice is falling apart.
Folks, I convinced Connor to drink many drinks that were literally called the devil in Spanish. So you can blame me for this. He is.
This is 2 days ago. You know I'm knocking 30. Like, this is 2 days ago. I'm still feeling on it. They had the music up too loud, Martin. Yes, I know I'm old. But they did because it's still COVID and no one can dance. So why is the music so loud? Turn it down when everyone's forced to sit at their table and talk to each other. We had a speaker above our table that was just blasting sound down onto us, and it was so loud. And I was shouting at people that were 1.5 feet away from me. Anyway, so the archmage, for example, can cast it. Okay, so the archmage
man yells at crowd.
Oh God, I'm going for a nap after this. Things old men say. So the four. Okay, the 4 top level spells from 9th down to 6th that the archmage has: time stop, mind blank, teleport, and globe invulnerability. Right?
Damn.
Those are 3 pretty cool spells. Right? And like I'm thinking like, okay, so obviously I think the war priest is relatively low level. I don't think that it is. Oh God, troubles me to bring this up now. I think they're like a CR2 or something like that. I think they're relatively low.
So when the war priest. Oh, sorry, the war priest. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the war priest is relatively low level. So I'm like, okay, they get an ability that gives them like that their melee attack, obviously. Oh, so I take it back. They're 9th. So previously they had up as far as 5th level of spells. They had like Flame Strike, Massacre Wounds, Hold Monster as their top 3. So they had a Maul ability. They still have that. They now have just an innate spellcasting Radiant Blast that's a ranged weapon, which is really cool. And they have this recharge on a D6 Radiant Firebomb or Fireball. And I'm like, okay, if that's what the abilities you give them for someone who would normally have 5th level abilities, like what are you giving to an archmage that's the equivalent of time stop, mind blank, and teleport? Like, you know, what, like, will they have multiple things? Will they be able to like I could see an archmage being something like they probably get some sort of ranged spell attack thing as well. That's just an innate action. But because they're an archmage, it'll be like choose literally any damage type, and they shoot that 150 feet. You know, because I think it would make sense that an archmage would be able to blast anything they need to or something.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were given like a counterspell like ability.
Absolutely. Oh my God, you know, 110%.
Maybe that's like a recharge on a 5-6 or something.
Yeah, or maybe like even an innate ability to hover or fly, maybe just a 10 or 15 foot speed, but like because you're always drifting around and you can just innately take off. Yeah, I could totally see it'll be interesting. And like I said, I think it'll make them a lot less predictable monster wise. Like this may be really
Yeah.
good for us because we're obviously pretty seasoned at 5e right now. When this comes in, if I was to start using a monster that previously you knew what an Archmage did, but now, or we'll use a War Cleric. Previously, you know what a War Cleric does. You've seen the stat block before. You know that it's able to use its maul. It can do Flame Strike. It can do Spiritual Weapon. Blah blah blah. If I come into you guys now and I have this new stat block, and I'm like, cool, can you make dex saves for me? Okay, you all take 20 something radiant damage from the radiant fireball he just blasted at you. And on the next turn, I roll a d6 and I go, oh, look, a 6. And I do it again. Like, that would keep you guys on your toes.
Oh, yeah. You're banging because I used Gloomstalkers. Was that what they're called? The like, kind of like bat-like shadowy monster from, I think it's Wildmount.
Oh, yeah, yes, yeah, they're...
Yeah.
Yes, I know the ones.
I used them for the first time, and they have a bunch of unique, really fun abilities. Like they can do like just as a bonus action, they can teleport 40 feet and like disappear in a puff of darkness, reappear.
Oh wow, yeah, look at it.
They have like an ability where they can grab you, and they have another one that's a grapple attack, and then they have another one that's like a recharge 5 and 6. It's a shriek that is it's a fairly low concept. I think it's DC 13. But if you fail, you're paralyzed.
60 feet though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I had 3 of those and 2 Vrox against my party, and it went like 6 rounds because all of the guys can screech at least once, and it affects 60 feet. And then the Vrox also have a paralysis attack as well. So it was a lot of fun for my party.
Yeah. I mean, that's this monster stat block is a pretty solid example of like we don't just tack on like I love when monsters have spells. I do. Because I think it adds a whole other dimension to them. But I think it can also be a bit of a cop-out sometimes when you're like, I want to make a monster interesting, but my players have fought a fire giant a bunch of times. Here's all the fire spells. Go nuts. Like, you know. Yeah. I think it's a bit of a cop-out answer on how to make them more interesting. Whereas this Gloomstalker is actually a pretty solid example of something that does... It has the teleport ability. That's really cool. It has sunlight sensitivity, which I like because it's one of those things where you can...
Yeah.
If you know the monster's weakness, you can exploit it.
You can do a really nasty thing with them as well, where because they've 80 feet of fly speed, they can teleport 40 feet, and they have a grapple attack. So you can use half your speed to fly down, grapple them, teleport up 40 feet, then fly another 40 feet up into the air, then let them go. In one turn.
Pretty sure you got done that way by a manticore once before.
No, that was a wyvern. Yeah, 70 feet.
Was it not Manticore? Because I remembered, I remembered taking its spines afterwards and using them as arrows.
I think that might have happened multiple times. The wyvern was the time I got a kid. The wyvern was the time I survived the fall and then got knocked out by a flub.
Right. Okay. Oh yes. Okay. I remember that one as well, vaguely. God, such a blur.
Wild magic sorcerers, man. You can't trust them.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think this Gloomstalker is actually a pretty solid example of, again, just a monster that has a bunch of abilities that aren't just tacked on spells. Because it'd be very easy just to, instead of writing something new called Shadow Step, just going, oh, this creature can innately cast Misty Step when it's in darkness or something like that. It's just, I don't want to say lazy, because I have no doubt that all the people who put this together on any of the books work extremely hard to do so. But it feels a little bit more... what's the word?
I don't think
catered to, or
I don't think it's necessarily lazy. I think it may just be more like that Gloomstalkers from the Wildmount book. Like that came out 2019? Wildmount?
Oh man, I don't even know.
2019, 2020 time Wildmount came out, and like when did the Monster Manual come out? Like 2015, 2016?
Something like that, yeah.
No, because we were playing by... Yeah, I think like the Monster Manual was like 2015 or something like that. So like you've got to think like by 2019 you've got like an additional 4 years of getting familiar with the system, its strengths and weaknesses, and how to use that to build better monsters. So I think it's not like necessarily a lack of effort or anything. It's if anything, it's a lack of just experience with the system. Even though, you know, like they spend so many hours making it and playtesting and everything. But like I think it's a thing that's said in video game development where like in the first hour your game is out, more people will play that game than you have then the people who have play tested that for however many hours you've employed them to play test that for the entirety of the game's development.
Yeah, yeah. I think on Play Watch Listen, Mike.
That's exactly where I heard it.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, because Mike is very much. Mike's very smart like that. He knows even not more not just with games, but just in general. Mike's a very smart guy. But yeah, he's absolutely right. I mean, like you can play test or you can test things internally as much as you want, but unless you're able to employ literally hundreds of thousands of people to do that, which you realistically would not be able to do, yeah, you're not going to get a better result of people finding the cracks and the flaws in your system until you put it out there and people give you feedback. Yeah, so yeah, it's I guess yeah, you're right. It's absolutely. By the way, it's September 2015. 2014. Damn. I apologize. September 30th, 2014.
Yeah, so literally 5 years additional time of familiarity with the system, what works and what doesn't work, what people don't like already, and what they do like to build on, where you can go, okay, this is how we're going to build the Gloomstalker. And also, it was like Matthew Mercer and James Hake, I believe, as well. And oh no, because that was Wildmount, so that was everyone. That was like Perkins and the whole gang.
Yes, but well, I think Matt and James Hake were kind of spearheading that book, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because they did the original CR setting book. Explorer's Guide to Taldora campaign setting. That's it. I'm so excited for the revamped version. I
cannot. It's gonna be like it's meant to be like twice as thick. I cannot wait. Also, they're advancing the time again because this is based the way this setting is now in the book I have here. The timeline of that is immediately after the death of Thordak. Right. The new one they're bringing out is at the same time that campaign 2 was going on. Ooh. So it's actually 20 years on.
That's awesome.
That's really cool. Yeah, I can't wait. But yeah, so yeah, I completely agree. They've obviously had time to play with the system. They've seen what works, what doesn't, and yes, this monster is probably a product of that now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I think I like this rework. One thing I am curious about is when it comes to D&D Beyond, will I still have the option of using the older version of the Archmage if I want to? Simply because, and I said this in our D&D chat earlier on, and I was talking about it with Gavin, I'm like, if I'm running a bunch of different NPCs or a bunch of different monsters or mobs or whatever in an encounter, I want, maybe then I'll go, cool, let's just use the simplified version where they just get their own abilities. I don't need to go looking up spells or anything. It's all just here on the stat block. Great. And then I'll be fine with that most of the time. But sometimes I want to be like, here's the big bad. He's a 17th level spellcaster or an 18th level spellcaster. He's got all these spell slots and all these abilities. And I want to be able to be like, and again, there's a huge amount of spells out there. So I want to be able to go, he's going to cast this spell. And you're like, what the hell does that spell do? Someone quickly look up the spell. What's the spell do? You know, I want to be able to do that. And I want the option of when it's time for me to make an NPC or a bad guy or something that is particularly relevant or particularly important, I want to be able to then say, hey, this bad guy, he isn't using like the standard block. He isn't dumbing things down. He's got like power word kill. He's got like circle of death. He's got like, he can innately cast shield all the time because I said so. I want to be able to do all those things and still have that option. That's more of a D&D Beyond thing necessarily, I think.
Yeah.
Than,
I was going to say, I'd imagine you'll be able to do that through monster creation in D&D Beyond, through creating homebrew monsters if you wanted to do that. And you could probably use that. But just going on how they've handled like stuff that they've now archived with the classes, I'm not sure how they do it with the book, because with the classes, what they do is like my rune knight, I use the archived rune version of the rune knight.
Yeah.
So like with that, if I were to ever lose my character sheet for whatever reason and remake it, I would then have to use the updated version. It doesn't, like, if you ever basically get rid of it, just basically stores the file, the version that you have, and if you ever change that, it's gone. With books, I don't know, maybe I could see it'd be a bit messy, but I could see maybe to have like, say there'd be like Archmage Monster Manual, Archmage Mordenkainen, Archmage, the acronym for Mordenkainen presents Monsters of the Multiverse. MP, MP, MM, MO,
it's just
Mum.
Yeah, it
that
would
that famous Hanson song, Mum, Bapu.
It will be messy. I don't see them being like, here's 2 of every monster, one and the little acronym after it. I don't see them do that. It would be so messy. I just can't see them D&D Beyond doing it, so it makes things a nightmare to navigate. Because there will be people who strictly want to use one or the other. I would like, and Gavin mentioned this in chat earlier, I'd like if there was like a toggle. Give me a toggle where I can flip back and forth. Because realistically, right? Well, no, actually, maybe not. What I was going to say was, if it was a toggle, it's as simple as changing an image, but it's not, because they now have the buttons programmed into it, which so it's not that simple anymore. But ideally that's what I would like, just because again, I'd like to be able to come into a fight, and I'd like, I'd like for you guys to not know what's coming, whether it's the standard thing or the thing with all the spells. But 2, like I said, I think there's more character to a bad guy who can potentially teleport out, who can potentially cast Dimension Door, who can heal himself.
You're a big fan of that. You're a big fan of the Dimension Door.
Love me some Dimension Door.
There's a reason I'm taking Mage Slayer next level, and it's that spell, Dimension Door.
So yeah, I think I don't know. I'll wait and see. We don't have to worry about it till January. But we'll see how it plays out. I would like there to be an option.
Oh, and probably important to mention, so initially this book will only be available as part of that expanded rule set bundle, but it will then come out at a later date as its own separate book.
Yeah, I would almost think, they may.
If I had to guess, I'd probably say like January, then March.
Yeah, maybe. It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to buy the bundle simply because I have the other 2 books already. But if there's a digital version, because sometimes D&D Beyond does that thing where you buy a bundle, and if you already own some of them, it reduces the price.
Yeah, if it does that, I'll definitely get it.
Yeah, definitely. Other than that, it's a great book. I feel like if you're just getting into D&D now, buy the 3 core books. Hold out to January. Buy this collection that has literally all the other classes, literally all the other classes, all the other races.
And a bunch of
it has stuff. All the monsters you need from all the other various books that you would have to spend literally hundreds of euros or dollars or whatever on to get, and instead just compiles them into this 3-book thing. Brilliant. I think it's one of the best, most consumer friendly things I've seen done anywhere in a very long time.
Yeah, it's not bad. Right? And I bet it'll look really nice on like a shelf as well. Like just have like the 3 and 3. But I also kind of do like having the absurd collection of all the big long ones. Like, as soon as I've space for a book,
I built a little shelf thing just for my D&D books because I had so goddamn many of them. Yeah. I had a shelving unit. You know this. I had a shelving unit in my apartment when I was still in town. And that shelving unit's really thick. It's really chunky, and even it was bending and teetering under the weight of all of these books. It's ridiculous. Yeah. We're kind of coming up on time, I think, soon. Seriously. But there's a couple other kind of small-ish announcements. Okay. So, I think we covered all that. Okay. There are 2
there's
brand new campaign settings or home or worlds or whatever in the works currently.
And one is confirmed to be one that people have been asking for a very long time.
Well, no, is that one of them, or is that separate from this? Because I thought I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Because so you're talking about a new campaign setting that is coming 2022. There was a very specific bit of art shown in the stream.
Yes, they folks. They basically confirmed Spelljammer.
Yeah. They
with,
showed
Boo the giant miniature hamster, I believe.
Giant miniature space hamster.
That's the one. One.
That is apparently a very early draft art for the potential cover, I guess.
Yeah.
It almost looks. It looks very like.
It looks like the normal Mordenkainen's cover.
I was going to say it looks very like the limited edition Xanathar's one.
Oh yeah, I don't know. You definitely have that one there. Come on, get it on camera.
I don't know if I have it here or if it's in the other room. It might be in the other room. Just Google limited. Oh no, I don't. It's right there.
I knew it.
So see the way it has all the eyes and stuff around, but it's just it's got like a hamster face here instead. So I think it might end up being. I would love if they went back to this format, by the way, because only Volos and this came out with this particular format of limited edition cover. I would love for a throwback to that personally.
Yeah, I think it will be, just based on the
Yeah.
design.
So Spelljammer is that, but they also said they were announcing two brand new campaign settings. Are they separate from Spelljammer, or is Spelljammer one of them?
I think Spelljammer. No, sorry, because didn't they say there was two brand new, never before done in D&D campaign settings?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Spelljammer
Yeah.
has been done before, so three if you're including Spelljammer, which they basically announced they very unsubtly, they didn't say it's Spelljammer, but they went, this is a very famous giant miniature hamster,
Yeah.
space hamster called Boo. And like I was literally watching, like, I think Nerd Immersion's video where he was streaming it live, and he was like, it's Boo, I called it. And then he was like, his name is Boo, and he was like, that's Boo. Yes, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so two brand new, never before done. So that means not Dark Sun, not Dragonlance.
No.
That means, because he specifically said never before done in D&D or never before done in 5e.
Never before done in D&D.
So
I believe his
not
exact
Dark
words
Sun.
were never before presented by Dungeons and Dragons.
So yeah, that'll be.
Ooh, do you know what? I don't know. Have they done? Are you familiar at all? So because I used to play it, I know there used to be, there's a magic a place in Magic called Innistrad, which is basically gothic horror magic.
Okay.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Innistrad, because I believe he said, if I remember rightly from the description not from the description, but from what he says in the thing, he said it's like terrifying and dark and stuff. And Innistrad is very much, I think it's either Innistrad or Innistrad. It's very much that kind of vibe, and it wouldn't surprise me in any way for them to continue to cross over more Magic and D&D. I believe they crossed over D&D stuff into Magic recently as well. So like,
Yeah.
I like they own the license for both. If either audience starts buying the crossovers, they're making like double money. So I don't see why they wouldn't. And particularly just them saying it's going to be like a dark and scary thing. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. To
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You've convinced me. I feel very strongly that it's going to be Innistrad, because just given their track record, they've done Theros, and they've done
Theros, they've done Ravnica. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean, that's another one again on top of that that's never been done. I would like to see. I don't know. Here's the thing. I get that, like, they are D&D. Their job is to kind of uphold D&D as a product and as even the world, because they've inherited the lore and everything that was done by people decades before them.
Yeah.
And they're now kind of like the new keepers. It's very prestigious and kind of almost like magical in itself. You know, we are the new keepers of D&D.
Yeah,
we shepherd it into the new age. But they're kind of responsible for the things that happen that then mean that in, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years time, when they're no longer with us, there'll be younger people who are like, back in the day, Chris Perkins invented this thing, and now we're rewriting his lore or adding to his lore, you know, a lot of kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I know that that's kind of their deal. They're probably going to focus mostly on the D&D specific worlds, like the Sword Coast and stuff like that. But what's it called? Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
But part of me is also Faerun, thank you. Part of me is also like, I would kind of like to see what would happen if Chris Perkins was just allowed to do his own world. It won't happen. I'm almost certain it won't happen.
No,
but I would like to see what he would come up with if it's like, here, Chris, homebrew a world, go, knock yourself out, whatever you want to do, whatever you're feeling like. Will it be something completely off the walls, bizarre?
I'm going to throw out a wild stab in the dark here, just purely for the minuscule chance I'm right, and then in like 6 months I can come back and be like, claimed it. If it's not Innistrad, I think it'll be like a book, because they haven't done it yet. I don't think they've done it yet, but a book based in the Shadowfell, like a Witchlight, but for Shadowfell. Or am I just completely forgetting the book that they've already done? Because I don't think there's like a Shadowfell adventure book.
Well, I mean, technically speaking, Barovia is in the Shadowfell.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. But
yeah. And you know what, as well, because they also did
Yeah.
Van Richten's recently,
Yeah.
that covers a bunch of different subdomains of the Shadowfell.
How did I forget Van Richten's? I love that book.
I get what you're saying, though. I mean, like, I've been waiting forever for them to do something that is Fae, like forever and ever. I'd love it, or maybe like I'd love an underwater adventure. That'd be cool, actually.
A Ghost of
like-
Saltmarsh, kind of, but yeah. Like an Atlantis
Kind of
style.
coastal, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm talking more Atlantis style, where you, like, in the same way that you play out of the abyss and you spend almost the entire time underground, you would spend almost the entire time at the bottom of the sea, going between different merfolk and Triton villages and stuff like that.
That would be good.
But that's pure speculation. Those are the last three announcements, which are very exciting. Spelljammer, I know people have been harping on about it for ages. I'm excited to see it. And that's 22.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't confirmed Spelljammer, but it's like a 95% chance it's Spelljammer.
Yeah.
And then 2 new settings. I think the Innistrad one makes a lot of sense to me. It might have a bit of overlap with... Well, no, maybe not, because I'm thinking it might have a lot of overlap with Van Richten's in terms of theme and stuff like that.
Like, Van Richten's is so like varied in what they have.
Yeah.
Like, it is gothic horror, but like Innistrad is very much your like Hammer horror, Universal movie monster universe kind of like gothic horror. Like it is your Frankensteins, your werewolves, your Draculas, that all that kind of stuff. It's very, very gothic horror. It's very like Bloodborne in that way, but a bit more medievally. So like. There's probably be a bit of a crossover of Van Richten's, but I still think they'd do it.
Yeah. It seems like a reasonable thing. I don't know how many. You're maybe more well versed in this now. How many worlds do they have within Magic the Gathering? Is there like dozens, or is it only a handful, or was it?
I honestly wasn't ever really mad into the Magic Lords for the time I played it. I only know because sets that came out when I was playing, like Innistrad was a set that came out when I was playing it. It was all gothic horror. I think there's another one called New Phyrexia, which is all sort of like it's almost like Hellraiser style, like Cenobites and like poison and undeath and shit. I'm really sorry. Like if there's Magic fans out there, they're probably like clawing at their ears hearing me talk about.
Yeah,
Magic.
I'm trying to see if I can just find a list of how many worlds, because we have like Theros, which is obviously the Greek thing, and then I think Innistrad is the Gothic.
They're usually like the name of the sets. So if you look up a list of the sets from Magic, you'd probably get a better idea. Okay. Because like there was the Innistrad set, and then the New Phyrexia set, and then Theros was a set, and that kind of stuff.
Okay, interesting. Well, yeah, okay. I think maybe like again, could be any combination of those. I like when they do some of the Magic stuff, just because we tend to get weirder monsters than we normally do with D&D.
And like the Theros added mythic monsters as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I do think part of me is a little bit, just a small bit disappointed now that I'm like, oh, it's probably going to be 2 Magic settings. Okay.
I know. I don't think it'll be 2 Magic settings. I think it'll be 1 Magic setting and 1 D&D setting. But I will not be surprised in any way if they do another Magic setting. It only makes sense for them, really. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the property's there. It makes sense to be doing at least 1 a year from Magic, and I know that they know that sometimes when they release one of these Magic books, the community is like, we just want D&D, get Magic out of our D&D. But at the same time, I think that they're going to do it for business purposes. So I think they'd probably hit a middle ground of, look, we'll do 1 Magic thing and 1 D&D thing a year, okay? And then that'll satisfy everybody.
If you're being realistic about it, though, there's probably a fairly huge crossover in the audience between D&D players and Magic players. Absolutely. So yeah, why hate? You get some cool stuff out of it.
Oh, I think I found some of the boxes here.
Yeah, it's
Dominaria, Kaldheim, Zendikar, Strixhaven's here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that. Anyway, but Martin.
Yes, Connor.
I believe that's all the time we have today.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's an exciting time, and I'm actually just really, really hyped to see what like the next year, 2 years brings to D&D now, just with like 5.5 or 6E or whatever it's called, and what new things we'll see in there. Like, I won't be surprised if we get a few new classes in 60.
Maybe we'll finally get that what's the side class
submission
called?
grappler. The submission grappler. Give me the goddamn submission grappler for the monk.
What's the side class called again?
The mystic, yeah.
Maybe we'll finally get the mystic.
I hope not, because I read the description of that class and got a headache.
Oh man, that was the densest class, and the subclasses were painful and everything.
And I believe it was also like painfully OP as well. If you could actually understand, if you could actually read it and like decipher the ancient, if you could open the Hellraiser puzzle box that was the description of this class and decipher the ancient words, deep forbidden power was yours.
Yeah. If you have any questions you'd like us to ask, stories you'd like us to share, or topics you would like us to cover, you can tweet us at MicFlayersPod on Twitter. You can also find our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, and Radio Republic. Martin, where can people find you on the internet?
You can mostly find me here on the Micflayers podcast, but you can also find me on Twitter at So Sorry It's Over, which is down in the bottom right hand corner of my screen there. And you can find me on the Micflayers Twitter account as well, which is at MicFlayersPod, also in the bottom right hand corner. But mostly, as I said a second ago, on the Micflayers podcast every Friday, 6 p.m. Irish time. Where can people find you, Connor?
People can find me primarily on Twitter at 0.Connor, ZeroPointConor, on N, very important. Or as Martin said, every Friday, 6 p.m. Irish time on the Micflayers podcast on the aforementioned platforms. Guys, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a really, really exciting week. Not to mention the release of Wild Beyond the Witchlight and now all these brand new announcements of what's to come. We have an exciting 3 or so years ahead of us, leading up to the eventual release of 5.5/6 or whatever it will eventually be called, D&D Plus or 5e Plus or whatever it is. I think it's another name I saw.
D&D Infinity.
D&D Infinity. In the meantime, guys, we'll be here with you every step of the way, talking about it, laughing about it, giving out about it as I'm one to do. But ultimately, and most importantly, enjoying it along with you. So guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Later, folks.